From Muhammad Ali to Michael Phelps to Simone Biles, a new series of books shares stories about many of the greatest sports athletes of the past 100 years. But there are also several athletes who you may not know much about, including a blind mountain climber and the first woman to run the Boston Marathon.
It's called Sports Role Models, Book 1, 2, and 3, written by Joe Hoedel, who runs the Character Development and Leadership Educational Curriculum Company. Joe joins us now. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chicago. Great to be with you.
It's great to be with you, too. So talk about everyone knows Muhammad Ali, Michael Phelps, Simone Biles. What are you telling people about them that they might not already know?
Sure. I think it's really the story behind the story. I want to inspire people, and I want them to understand what made them great on and off the field. We have this ability to look up to athletes a lot, but I want to change the reason why we look up to athletes, and it's their character both on and off the field.
And what led Ali into the world of boxing?
It's a great story. I mean, ESPN said that he's the greatest sportsman of the 20th century, but when he was a 12-year-old in the streets of Louisville, Kentucky, someone stole his bike. And he was going around town telling anybody and everybody that he was going to whoop somebody when he finds who stole his bike. And there was a police officer there who was listening to him and said, son, do you even know how to fight? And young Cassius said, no, I don't. He said, well, come on down to the boxing ring and I'm going to teach you how to fight. And that's how we entered the world of boxing. And if it wasn't for that moment in time, we wouldn't know Cassius Clay, who probably went on, became the greatest sportsman of all time, Muhammad Ali.
And Michael Phelps, we look at him as this huge swimmer, gold medalist, but he was bullied as a child.
That's right. He was actually diagnosed with ADHD, but he also had these really big ears and he had big hands and feet. He was constantly teased and made fun of. And he just really struggled as a child. And he had all this crazy, chaotic energy. And what he found is that when he got into swimming and he could direct his energy to down and back, it was just one triangle that he had to deal with, or one rectangle. And he found that he could channel his anger and his energy into becoming the greatest Olympian.
And the Bobby Jones story is interesting. Golf is certainly a gentleman's game, they call it. Tell us what he did.
Sure. We really chose him for his honesty. In 1925, he was playing the U.S. Open. He went to address the ball, and he says that he caused the ball to move, and no one saw that the ball moved. And they begged him not to call the penalty on himself, but he did, and he actually lost the tournament by one stroke. And when people were praising him for his decision, he said, "That's the only way I know how to play the game."
And let's talk about Simone Biles, who we'll see in another Olympics this summer. Talk about her childhood.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. She probably is the greatest gymnast to ever live. But when she was 3 years of age, her father had already abandoned her. Her mother was addicted to crack cocaine. And she's playing out in the street with her younger sister, unsupervised, and Child Protective Services is called, and she gets taken away from her family. And she goes into adoptive services and lives in foster care for several years. So she really had some really hardships to deal with.
All right, let's talk about Catherine Switzer.
This is a story that everyone should know. It's one of the greatest moments in sports history, particularly for females. This is 1967, and women were not allowed to run a marathon. It was thought that if they did, that they would keel over and die. They just didn't have the ability to do so. And she simply disagreed, and she trained. And she signed up under KV, so no one knew that she was a female. She put a hoodie over herself. She went to the start line, started running, and 4 miles into it, the race director understands that there's a woman running in his race. And she goes to actually push her right off the track, off the road. And her boyfriend at the time was a former Penn State linebacker, pushed him off, and they just went running, and she finished the race. The significance of that is that now there's about 30,000 people that run Boston every year, and about half of them are females.
Okay, real quickly, we have to get to, we talked about this blind mountain climber. I don't think people are familiar.
Yes, Eric Weinheimer. There's about 150 people who have climbed all 7 peaks, the highest 7 peaks in all 7 continents, and he's one of them. The only difference between him and all the others is that he's blind. And the determination that it took for him to reach this is really just a remarkable story. And I hope that's the type of stories that we're able to tell that are inspirational to the public.
Well, it's interesting. Joe, we appreciate you joining us this morning. The book series is Sports Role Models. You can get it at characterandleadership.com. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.